Okay, let's talk Apple. If you have an iPhone, I have an iPhone. Emily, you have an iPhone?
I do have an iPhone.
What model? What vintage?
I had a 4S up until a few months ago, and I upgraded to a 7S.
Okay.
A refurbished 7S.
Okay, I've got a 6S. Jason, what do you have?
My wife and I just upgraded from 6s to the new 10R.
Okay, Mr. Fancy Pants. Well,
let's wait a minute.
If you have an iPhone and you had your battery replaced this past year, you are not alone. Apple replaced 11 million batteries in 2018 during its $29 replacement program. Now, during a normal year, Apple expects to replace between 1 to 2 million batteries. So they replaced around 10 times as many batteries as they expected. That news just came out. So apparently gone are the days when Apple can assume that everyone wants the newest model.
I did that battery replacement on the 6 when they were offering that thing because of the, they were pulling back on the performance of the phone. So I took advantage of replacing that battery on the 6, and it did extend the life of it. I thought it was actually going to be a little bit better, but it was okay.
But how much of a threat is this to the business? Because there's been a lot of talk about China and the slowdown in China. But when I see this news as an Apple shareholder, I think this worries me even more. And by the way, I'm not getting a new iPhone. You've got to bring back the headphone jack, and you've got to improve the battery life.
Well, you might be alone in that regard. But I have to wonder, do people who work at Apple use Apple phones? How could they only think that about 1 million people would want replacement for the batteries? I mean, I know personally, my phone, hardly makes it through a day with the battery life. I mean, so it shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't have been a surprise for Apple that so many people got their batteries replaced. But you know what? I don't think it matters that much. Apple has such a strong ecosystem. And push came to shove when I was getting rid of my old 4S. I was like, yeah, I could get any phone on the market. But it's just so much easier for me to go ahead and get that refurbished 7. It was about the same price as an alternative. And yeah, I mean, the alternatives are a little bit newer. But the process I'd have to go through to transfer, it was kind of like, I'll just bite the bullet.
So you think this story, for investors, a bit of a nothing burger, or does it matter?
It might be a bit of a nothing burger, but I don't think it bodes well for whatever person made that original estimate. I think somebody lost their job.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one where you think, well, as consumers, this is great. I mean, the phones get better over time, and the phones should last longer over time. I mean, that's just the evolution of tech. But if you're an investor, that kind of sucks because that means people aren't upgrading their phone as much as perhaps they used to. So if Apple wants to get people upgrading more often, they've got to offer more incentives. So eventually what that all plays out into is their ability to raise prices on the phones in one form or another. I mean, we're kind of hitting that peak here because I think we're hitting the peak of really what these phones can do. I mean, I'll say going from the 6 to the 10R, I'm still not impressed with some of the user interface. I think Apple Pay took a major step back. They added more friction to that process in a process where they really need to take away as much friction as possible. The Face ID is, I mean, we're in a point now where the biggest advancement they can make in these phones, in my opinion, is to make the battery last as long as it can. And that, to me, has been the greatest part about going from the 6 to the 10 is now I have a phone that can make it through all day without having to recharge it. But I know those days are limited, too.
Yeah.
So to Emily's point, Apple is more than just the iPhone. I know a lot of investors love to just make a big deal out of this. Let's step back and take a little bit of a longer-term view there and recognize all of the strengths of this business still. And I think they're going to be okay.
Okay, so any chance the new model, I get my headphone jack back?
I really wish because, I do applaud them.
I'm grieving still.
I applaud them for sending me the headphones with the new headphones, the headphones with the new jack. But I ran into the situation. I was on a plane the other day, and I'm thinking I'd love to plug in and watch one of the movies on the screen there. And guess what?
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
You could do it with my headphones.
I could have.
And my rotary phone.
And that was a bit of a downer. But, I mean, these are the advancements. So you got to make these trade-offs, I guess. What's more important, the battery or the headphones?